You wonder, what's wrong with him? What's the matter with her? I can't understand what's going on. Can you explain it to me? Maybe you find yourself asking questions like that from time to time. Maybe you've been worried people have been thinking some of those things and asking those questions of one another about you. We are, I think, all very much aware that we are very imperfect people. And sometimes that imperfection we might think is very, very obvious to others. We hope no one else can see it. You know, maybe it shows just you're concerned like how is your hair combed on a particular day, or maybe you feel that others are worried that, you don't speak your words clearly, or your memory isn't what it should be. Or maybe people listen to your voice and kind of try and wonder, where is he from? And maybe you're thinking that most of those times those questions are asked with a critical air of mind, and people are looking to push you out. That's kind of how things are with people. Every now and then we look for things like that, and we hold on to things like that, and we kind of try and find differences between ourselves instead of bringing each other in together. Our gospel has a little bit of that flavor in it today in this story about the man who was born blind. In fact, it's interesting, right from the very outset, as Jesus and the disciples are walking into town and they see this man by the pool at Siloam, the disciples ask Jesus, was it because of his sin or the sin of his parents that he is blind? Which was a common thought of the people back then. Good and faithful people then often thought that, well, someone has experienced a real misfortune because of something they did or something their parents did. It's got to be their fault. I mean, that doesn't happen to good people, does it? Well, Jesus said, this man's blindness is not the result of his sin or the sin of his parents. Instead, his blindness will be an opportunity for the strength of God to be made manifest in our lives. This isn't the only time in John's Gospel where a moment like this comes up and Jesus points out to the disciples that something about someone is an opportunity to see the Lord come into their lives in a way that was very unexpected. And that's where we are. So Jesus heals this man. He gives him his sight back. And he does it in a very, very simple way. He takes a little bit of clay and kind of mixes it with spittle. You do that all the time, right? And kind of wipes it like a paste on his eyes, on his eyelids. And he tells him to go wash in the pool. Now you think, well, the pool, it's not like a swimming pool. Think of like a mineral spring, okay? And people back then would often have their sick go to sit by the mineral springs and just have someone lower them into the waters to be healed. We've heard about things like that. We've heard of places like Hot Springs, and around here, Sharon Springs, and even Saratoga Springs got its start that way. Okay? Yeah. Well, the man comes back after having washed his eyes. He can see. And did you hear in the gospel that Deacon Brown proclaimed just the mental gymnastics people went through just to avoid acknowledging that this blind man could see now? Oh, this must be someone who just looks like him. These can't be the blind man. You must be one of his disciples. This is all a ruse, isn't it? Yeah. But it's interesting. This man who was born blind, who now can see, he sees with eyes of faith. And you know what? He pushes right back. He gets into it with the Pharisees and the temple officials, who even browbeat his parents into not acknowledging their own son's blindness. Oh, he's of age. Go ask him. Boy, the parents were so afraid of what other people thought of them in the community, they even wouldn't stand up for their son. Think about the power of the community back then. But his son, he had none of that. He took them on, and he was talking about the one who healed him. He must be a prophet. The one who healed him. Do you believe in him? Do you believe in the Son of Man? I would if only I could see him. I am he. Wow, what a wonderful gospel story for us to kind of take into account. This man's blindness was taken away, and he could see. And when he was seeing, he could share, he could witness. He witnessed to Jesus, he witnessed to his faith, even without even realizing he knew what Jesus looked like. Jesus had to introduce himself to this man. Isn't that interesting? Now, where does that leave us 2,000 years later? Well, as I mentioned earlier, people have their imperfections, and we try hard to hide them or mask them. We certainly don't draw attention to them. We certainly don't put them on billboards for people to see. We kind of hope we can get through life without people calling us on it. What if, instead of complaining about it, or working hard to hide it, or overcompensating for it, our shortcomings, or our weaknesses, or our imperfections, what if we brought them to the Lord in prayer? What if we asked Jesus to heal us? And healed, then what can we do with the gifts that we've been given? Think of the experience of baptism and the sacraments, how we've been gifted by God. This man born blind witnessed to Jesus in his life once his sight was returned. How about us? Could we do the same thing? Healed, are we ready to share? Given the grace and love and gift of healing, are we ready to give that love and gift and grace to others?